CMGM Morning Show with Matt and Karle, 103.7 WMGM Rocks. We're just waiting on Brian Kenny here. He's going to be on the phone momentarily.
All right.
Chit-chatting about his new book, Ahead of the Curve, because me and Karle, both baseball fans.
I like to think we are.
He's on the MLB Network. Mm-hmm. And it was kind of funny. I was watching him on his own show get interviewed about his book.
Really?
Yeah.
On his own show? Who did they interview?
I forget one of the other jabronis on that show.
Cool.
Yeah, it's all a bunch of ex-ball
Bunch of
players
dudes.
there. Oh, he's on the line right now. Who did get interviewed? One of those other jabronis.
We love
Tom
that word.
Verducci. Come on. That was not a jabroni. It was Tom Verducci
There
at
you
Sports
go.
Illustrated. Come on.
So like I said, a jabroni. There you go. That's why Brian's laughing right now.
Okay.
He knows I'm right. It's the MGM Morning Show with Matt and Karle. What's going on, Brian? How you doing this morning?
Good to be with you guys. How are you?
Good. Karle and I are huge baseball fans, and I like to brag or anything, but I played in the minors back in my day, in the early 90s. I was a bit of a ball player, made it up to Double-A. Pretty good stuff there.
You did, really?
Yeah. I was in the Braves and the Expos organizations.
Boy.
Yes. The good old West
That's
Palm.
good. No, that's legit. No, Karle, that's Double-A's legit.
I
Yeah.
know.
No, respect. Yeah. That's good for you.
Woo.
Yeah, I played for the Macon Braves, the Greenville Braves, and then the West Palm Beach Expos.
All right.
It's good stuff.
He's like,
And what happened? How'd you top out there?
well, yeah, I started as a pitcher, blew my arm out, so I'll get to your pitching story here in a minute, because I think if you were in charge, I might have lasted longer.
Oh, boy.
Absolutely.
Probably.
And then Charles Johnson, you remember him, the catcher for the Marlins?
Yeah.
Back in the minors, I had a collision with him at home plate, and he was a much bigger man than me, and I got the worst of that one.
That's a bad guy to collide with.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't have done that. You shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
You know
What
what's
were you
funny?
thinking, Matt?
We were losing the game, and I just wanted to go home, literally.
Yeah.
So I rounded third, and that was that. So there we go.
Oh, man.
So Brian's wrote a very interesting book. If you love baseball, it's called Ahead of the Curve, and you basically want to change a whole lot of the way we look at statistics, the way we even look at the way the game is played. Let me just get to this one right here. The starting pitching. This I think one of your more interesting points here. You want to do a thing called bullpenning, where basically each pitcher just kind of throws 2 innings and get them out of there.
Well, yeah, most everything we do in baseball now comes from what we did in the 19th century, including a starting pitcher walking out there and pitching the whole day. Like, we still are based on that model, even though the game has changed and we have specialization and we have a huge talent pool, a worldwide talent pool, and we know that hey, you can always throw harder if you're throwing 1 inning rather than 7 or 8. You can throw better. Velocity goes up. These are measurable things, like 2 miles an hour when you're a starting pitcher who usually goes 7 or 8, and he knows I have to get about 4 outs here. So why do we still trot this guy out and wait for him to exhaust himself, fatigue, and start to give up runs? It's just tradition. It makes no sense. And for people that say, oh, you can't do that, you'll wear everybody out. Hey, if you have 13 or 15 pitchers, add up the innings, divide it, everybody pitches about 115 innings. It's easy. And by the way, most teams now, they don't use 13 pitchers. They have 13 pitchers on their roster actively. They'll use 21 to 30 pitchers in a given season.
Well, you can almost use an example. The closer, like a Mariano Rivera, would go out almost every day. So if you because he was only pitching, an inning or two,
yep.
Right, and you'd have to, guard against that. You'd certainly, your relief ace would still be used more or less the same way. I would advocate like the way the Yankees use Dellin Betances. Get 90 innings out of these guys. I go into that too. That in the 70s and 80s, you had firemen. Those guys pitched 125 innings. Raleigh Fingers did 120 innings all the time. Now that might be a bit much, but you could get 90 out of your best guy, and then maybe not use them 3 straight days, but 2 days on, 1 day off, another day, then 2 days off. You'll have 13 pitchers to use every single day.
So with this philosophy, like I follow the Cubs a lot because they're one of the teams that never cut me. So would that mean like you could in a 3-game series, like the Phillies would have to see Jake Arrieta twice, John Lester twice? That could be like a scary scenario for a team.
Right, in shorter bursts. And here's the best part. let's say you are the Cubs and you have Lester and Arrieta. Not only can you use them, you can choose when you're using them. Like, I wouldn't use them to start the game. I'd let the game start to develop. And if, hey, one thing, let's say we're getting blown out. I'm not using those guys. Let's say it's a close game, and now you get 2 men on in the 5th inning, you have a 2-run lead. Well, guess who's coming in? Jake Arrieta. Or you're in a tight spot in the 8th inning. Guess who's coming in? John Lester. I might go to my bullpen guys whenever I want. You can apply your best pitchers at high leverage moments. You can choose when to use them. That's a huge competitive advantage.
And another thing I like in this book here, Ahead of the Curve, that it's out now, right, Brian?
It is indeed, yeah.
Okay, you can go ahead and pick that up at bookstores now. Another thing, you said something about stop hiring managers based on their looks. So what I get out of this, if for those who saw the movie Moneyball,
yes.
Does that mean Jonah Hill should have been the manager? Is that kind of what you're getting at?
Well, I would say this. The manager does not have to be large and ruggedly handsome. Mm-hmm. He might be, like Bruce Bochy is a prototype, right? He's the archetype of a manager, a major league manager. He is large, ruggedly handsome, ex-major league catcher. You don't have to be a great major league player, but evidently they only hire guys who played in the majors, guys who are large, who have jutting jaws and, huge hands and shoulders. And I'm saying that has nothing to do with the skills of a major league manager. These guys don't have to physically fight their own players. It rarely happens. You don't have to be this big guy who looks the part. But when you think about it, this is probably transcending all other industries. Probably most places. I have a thing in there on being at ESPN that most of our coordinating producers, the guys who are kind of the sergeants on the floor, there were these big, huge dudes with baritone voices who were dominant alpha males. Also, by the way, white males, alpha males, dominant dudes who looked the part. And we would ask each other, hey, is that guy the best producer, or is he the guy that looks like the best producer? And that is happening in Major League Baseball. And I looked at it. I have 22 are large and ruggedly handsome. 8 are not large and ruggedly handsome. And it has nothing to do with the job.
Karle loves these stats.
Oh, man, these are the best.
So and for Karle, that means no Syndergaard one day is going to be a ruggedly handsome manager.
Oh, right.
Yes.
He'll fit the part there.
Yeah, Carly's a big fan of Syndergaard and DeGrom. Anybody with skinny with long hair.
And really tall.
Yeah, that's her.
That's my MO.
That's her version of ruggedly handsome these days. But you got to say with...
let me throw this at you, because I've talked to mostly guys on these shows.
Okay.
But I also ask, as far as umpires, for example.
Okay.
Why have there been no female umpires?
Yeah, what's up with that? I don't know.
No, there's no reason, except this goes back to the days when, in the 19th century, umpires basically had to be bouncers. You did have to get physical with players and sometimes with the crowd. Those days are long over.
Right.
And we still hire guys who look the part. Big, tough-looking guys.
They have
big, tough-looking guys.
Square
Nobody's
bodies.
attacking them.
No.
You need someone. And by the way, I cite, there's a woman that I know, Perry Lee Barber, who was umpired for years in the minor leagues. She's excellent. Why is she excellent? She has a very good strike zone. She's very good at her decision-making instantaneously. She's very good. Your physical size should have nothing to do with your ability to do the job.
Agreed. And even if it did, there are some broads out there.
There's some broads,
all right?
That could handle business.
Yeah, for sure. But they're not getting tackled.
Sometimes they might be large. Sometimes they might be small. But really, you should be looking at other things other than what the person physically projects to be.
Right.
I think they just don't have female umpires because all managers know they'll never win an argument with a woman. I think that's what it is.
Oh, no. See, why? Why do you have to do that?
Well, why'd you have to go there, Matt?
Well, Brian...
he's your problem.
Yeah, I know.
I'm everybody's problem. This is a very, very interesting book, and if you're a fan of baseball, I highly recommend picking it up. Ahead of the Curve by Brian Kenny. Do you get a lot of fight back on a lot of the stuff? When I saw what your MLB interview the other day, I guess you were talking to you're talking to Theo Epstein, and he basically said the culture is just not there yet for making a lot of these changes.
Right. No, it's a daily fight, and that's what you find. I mean, and that's why I wrote the book. I found myself, 20 years later, still having these same arguments. And all I've ever asked of anyone is, hey, think it through. Why do you do what you do? Is that the best way of doing it? Is there another way of doing it? And that goes in everything. That goes in all businesses, all walks of life is, hey, why do we do this? Well, it's the way we've always done it. Well, did that make sense? Or maybe it made sense at the time, and it no longer makes sense. You have to challenge your own thinking on a daily basis.
It sounds like
that.
You need to write a book for Atlantic City, because there's a lot of, we always done it that way going on
the
here.
The traditions.
Not working out that well here. Well, Brian, thanks very much for your time. Best of luck with the book. Again, if you're a fan of baseball, I think it's a must read and definitely opens your eyes to a new way of thinking, how the game maybe needs to move ahead and kind of get back to being the number one sport. I mean, football's going to be tough to pass, but it's very interesting stuff. So, Brian, thanks a lot, and I look forward to seeing you get interviewed by more of those jabronis on your own channel, MLB Network.
Thank you, guys. Good talking with you.
All right, you too. There he goes. It's the MGM Morning Show.
The MGM Morning Show with Matt and Karle. Weekdays from 6 to 10 a.m. on 103.7 WMGM Rocks.